Hi, I'm Michelle Blue. I started my first business just 2 weeks after graduating college.
Who are you? That's a question of life.
There is a dream that we all have within us. I believe if that dream is given to you, then it's up to you to bring it forth into the world. As a coach and host, I support women like you to create the life and business of your dreams.
Not being too committed to whatever destination you've set in your head, but being committed to the journey.
Through conversations with influential entrepreneurs and thought leaders, we dive into the mindset, spiritual, and success principles needed to step into your power. I'm with you every step of the way, and just know that the beauty lies within the journey. You're watching The Journey with Blue. Hi, I'm Michelle Blue, and welcome to The Journey with Blue, where I'm supporting you every step of the way to create the life and business of your dreams. My conversation with CK is all about love and relationships and how you can attract the right love into your life. Charanna C.K. Alexander Jean is an expert love coach. She's also the senior wedding editor at the New York Times. CK's work as a journalist and coach has led her to hosting workshops and inspiring other women around the country. CK, okay, so I am super excited specifically about this conversation because it's not every day that I get to sit down and talk to a love expert. But this is something that everywhere I go, all of my conversations with my girlfriends, I think every woman across the board, right? We are all navigating this space of love and relationships and marriages or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And no one has any answers. We're all like trying to figure it out. And so I was like, this is a conversation we have to have because as we are building our dream businesses and bringing our visions and things, to life, I think it's also important that we think about how we are stepping up and showing up even in our relationships and other areas of our lives. Because
yes, absolutely.
It's not just the career, it's not just the business. We want these intimate relationships as well along the journey.
Absolutely. And honestly, what you'll find is that the relationship, that's the part of your life that counts. Because when you leave this earth, no one says, he was an absolutely great manager. They talk about he was an amazing father, amazing husband. He served his community. People are always talking about the connection and the mark you left. And that's a part of relationships. So in every aspect, relationships are super important, especially now in the pandemic where we have been isolated from the people that we love. I feel like that has brought to the forefront what the true power of the connections that we have and that we might have took for granted before this time.
Right. And I will speak for myself. I won't hold anybody else to this. But I, especially during college, after college with my first business, I was so much on the grind, right? Of like starting my business, trying to figure that whole thing out, trying to grow it. Like that was all of my time, all of my energy, all of my focus was there. And then I looked up and I realized I was negating so many other areas of my life. And again, those are not the things that I want my life to be. That's not all I want my life to be known for, right?
Right.
I don't want to read, Michelle, an entrepreneur, made X amount of money. Like, no, I want to be known for the love.
Yes.
Right? And having those deep, close relational ties. And so even as we're growing our things, we don't, it's not like we have to choose.
Absolutely not. And you know what? It's okay because I feel like right after college is a great time of self-evaluation where you're really getting to learn yourself. Because the college years, you're just kind of like thrown into the wild and you're just trying to figure it out. Afterwards, you're like, okay, I have like some semblance of reality now that I'm away from college and I need to get my stuff together. So it's great that you spent that time working on you. But then, once you felt that you were in a good place, it's time to shift into saying, okay, I think I'm ready to invite someone into my life. I think I'm ready to share love. Because a lot of people, and this kind of bothers me, it's my own personal pet peeve when people say that they're looking for love. And I think that that's like the beginning of a lot of issues, because when you're seeking something and you're searching it out, you can probably miss it and it's already around you. It's already in the atmosphere. There's love absolutely everywhere. So when people say they're searching for love, in my mind, that means that they're missing the love that already exists.
That there's an absence of it.
Exactly, because there is no absence of love. There's love everywhere, from your family, from your friends, co-workers, from your community. I mean, so what I love is sharing love, because that comes from a place of overflow. So you want to share love. You don't need to look for it. It's around you. But now you're at a point after college, after everything, where you're ready to share your life and share your love. And that's exciting.
There was a point where I said, I want to receive more love.
Yeah.
And somebody checked me.
Okay.
They were like, just be love. Just give love.
Yes.
And then that love will be reciprocated.
Absolutely.
And so that's not always the easiest thing. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's in abundance. It is available to us. And we can all step into receiving the love around us. Yes. From our families, loving ourselves first and foremost.
Yes.
But also within our relationships and our mate.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you said loving yourself, because that is where it all starts. That is the foundation of any relationship. I have interviewed hundreds of married and engaged couples, and they've shared intimate details about their lives and their loves. And through my own company, Love Inc., where I help couples write their wedding vows and love letters and things like that, they have shared so many intimate details about me. And what I found was that there is a common thread between all of these couples that are in happy and whole relationships. And the common thread that I have found is that these couples have taken the time as individuals to nurture themselves and to spend time doing what makes them happy, finding joy, and not looking for someone to make them whole or happy. They're looking for their partner to add value to their lives. That is literally the common thread, that they themselves have found what makes them happy. They found love for themselves. They make themselves a priority. And then from that place of being full, and what I like to say, from having a full love tank, they're able to pour into each other.
Right.
And that is the secret sauce that I feel like a lot of people miss, because a lot of people are running after chasing down relationships with other people, but then they're not doing anything to nurture the relationship with themselves. So they'll find themselves attracting people who don't make them a priority. And then you're wondering, like, man, this guy never has time for me. And then you think to yourself, wait, when was the last time I had time for myself, where I put myself first, where I said, you know what, today it's going to be about me and what makes me happy? Because once you start to do that, then you attract someone who says, look at how she's taking care of herself. I can't put her last. She puts herself first. I have to make her a priority as well.
Right.
So that's been the key that I've seen from the couples that I've been involved with.
And I mean, obviously you're the expert, because like you say, you do this, but I think that's so interesting, because it's like, don't have the expectation for someone to do something that you won't do for yourself.
You hit the nail on the head. That's it. Like, because when I talk to my girlfriends, sometimes they say things like, this guy hasn't called me in 3 days. And I would say to myself, like, okay, well then go ahead, text him if you really care about him, whatever. But then I think back to how they handle themselves. In the last 3 days, what have you done for yourself? Have you just been focusing on work? Did you work out like you said you were going to work out? Did you keep your promises to yourself? Because a lot of times we expect other people to keep promises to us that we haven't even begun to keep to ourselves. And one of those is discipline and consistency. So, which is something that a lot of us want in relationships. We want a man that's consistent, or you want a woman that is, that you can count on, right? And then you have to say self am I that for me? Am I consistent with my self-love and my self-care? Am I showing up for myself when I need it? Am I taking a break when I need it? Am I resting? So those are the things that I feel should be the first priority of someone who is seeking to share love, that they should really think about their behavior patterns and what they're doing in their own lives and if they're showing love to themselves.
Mm-hmm. And I think, like you said, we are always, and all of us are victim of this.
Yes.
We're always looking for an external something to fill our internal voids. And that's just backwards. Like that doesn't work, right? Because then we'll always need that approval. We'll always need that, that call, that text, that whatever the case may be, is because we haven't given ourselves that.
Absolutely. And you know what? I myself, my own personal dating journey started in a very warped way because I am constantly around couples. I am in the center of everything that everyone wants, right? But yet I couldn't figure out how to get it done in my own life. So I had to take a moment.
Right.
I was like, you know what? No more dating. I had to put it all down. So that was in 2012. I took a break from dating and I said, you know what? I'm going to focus on me and focus on what it is that I'm attracting. And when I did that, I realized that I was not showing up for myself. And we all say we love ourselves. Like, I'm like, if anyone asks me, do you love yourself? Of course I love myself. But what I have learned is that loving yourself is attached to the decisions that you're making. So if your decisions are not in alignment with love, then you know that there's something there. There's a gap that needs to be filled.
Right.
Because if you say you love yourself, loving yourself means, again, taking the time that you need to rest, to reevaluate, to get out of destructive relationship habits. If you're making the decision to continue to date someone who doesn't honor you, that's not really love. You know what I mean? You may love yourself. You may go to the spa. You may do your hair and do your makeup. But if you allow someone to dishonor you,
Right.
are you really loving yourself? But that's a realization that we all have to come to. It's no judgment. It's literally, once you sit still, take the time to get to that place, you'll get there. But it doesn't happen when you're in the mix and you're moving and you're constantly on your grind, you know?
Enjoy where you are.
Yes.
And and you're single until you're married. So even in my singleness, I think we have to find the beauty in these moments and to know that, like you said, to find the clarity, to have the stillness, to know who blue is, right?
Yes.
And to love myself as whole and as broken as I am, right? And so I think there's so much beauty in our singleness, right? I think sometimes we dread it and we're like, oh my gosh. Like you said, we're always looking and we always want it to be different.
Yes.
But there's something special about this space that we should just really embrace and embody and get excited about.
Honestly, you have hit the nail on the head. Like, people are so obsessed with getting on to the next. Like, on to the next has been the phase, the phrase that pays, you know what I mean?
Right.
But honestly, it's so funny that you said that, enjoying being single. So in 2012, again, when I took that break, I decided to go on this whole self-love journey, and I started doing things I started doing belly dancing, and I was cooking more, and I was just really getting into the hobbies that I like. I was writing a ton and just really enjoying my life. And a friend of mine sent me an article where they were looking for a woman that was happy being single. And I was like, well, wow, that's finally me. I'm finally happy in my own company being single. And in 2012, I was selected to be Single of the Year for Ebony Magazine. And what I learned from that is I got so many emails back from women who were just like, wow, how did you get there? How did you get to this point where you are just feeling so happy to be alone? And I was like, you know what? It's not about being happy being alone. It's about happy being with me. And that was the difference, because a lot of times when people are single, they're like, I'm so alone. No, you're not alone. You're never alone. You have the opportunity to go within and really find out what makes you special. And during that time, I literally got so much confidence. I'm like, wait a minute. I've been looking for other people to tell me I'm dope.
Been there. Going through that.
Like, what part of the game is that? Like, I've been dope, and now that I've had this time to settle myself, I realize that I don't want to be with anybody that I have to prove my worth to.
Right.
Because once you find the love of your life, if you haven't done the work to build yourself, to seek out who you truly are, to learn your triggers, if you haven't done that work, you're in for a whole nother world of trouble with someone else. Okay? Because that stuff doesn't go away. Right. Your, like I would say, your purpose partner, your person, their job is to be the mirror for you. Right. And I've seen that with my own husband, where I'm like, oh, finally I met this amazing man, and boom, he's like, mirror.
In that mirror,
and I'm like,
all your stuff.
And I'm just like, wow, okay, so there's still more. So there's the journey of self-development never ends, you know, but it's like, as you keep going, as you keep growing, you get to a place where you enjoy every season, and every season is beautiful. And like you said, if you can find beauty in this moment, that will carry you to wherever you're trying to get to.
And you know, I said this to you before, it was a woman that never finds herself alone never finds herself. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, what? That is crazy to think about. And so it is this finding yourself in this stage, and I mean that never ends.
Yes.
Right? But never will you be able to do it by yourself.
Here's the thing. When you're in a relationship, there's one person who had all of this life experience coming into a relationship with another person who had all of this life experience, and they're trying to coexist. That is a lot to put under one roof if you're not settled in who you are, because you're dealing with this person's stuff and your stuff. That's a lot. You want to be able to have two happy and whole people. And whole doesn't mean complete. You know, people get confused about that. It doesn't mean complete. It means that you're at a place where you understand your parts, and you understand what makes you, what you're created for, and what you're created, who created you. That's important. Like if you're connected to your spirit, you know. So that's the type of people that you want to enter into a relationship with.
And like you said, knowing your triggers, right?
Yes.
Having that awareness of who you are and what are the things that are going to make you tick and take you to the next level.
Yes.
Because those things are inevitable in life, right? That's going to happen within any relationship. So like knowing those things about yourself first allow you to at least manage it a little better when you get within a relationship.
Absolutely. And honestly, your triggers change over time too, because we're constantly learning and growing, and we have to give ourselves permission to be different than we were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, than what we are right now in this moment. So it's a constant relearning of those triggers, because what bothered me 2 years ago doesn't bother me anymore, but I have something totally different now. So it's about spending time with yourself consistently so that you're like, okay, why did I get upset about that the other day? What is the root of that anger? Because that is my question to myself often, because it's almost never about the actual situation.
Right.
Once you take, and again, that's why I always suggest, I still do this. I have a self-love routine, and that's something that I do daily. The first hour of the day is my own. So nothing comes before CK every day. So I wake up and I pray and I journal and I meditate and I get still with myself and I commune with myself, and I'm saying to myself, what do I want today to bring? So I am very clear as I go throughout the rest of my day that there are certain things that I need to do for myself throughout this day to feel like I have had a powerful and wonderful, amazing day. And then from that, I can give. I can give so much because I'm full. You know, if I wake up at 6 a.m., I'm full at 7 a.m. Bring on the day. You see what I'm saying? Right. And a lot of people don't take that time. And I think that once people start to kind of reformulate what they think their lives should be and understand that bringing someone else does not solve anything. No problem is ever solved by, let me bring another person into my life.
No, that's how you blow it up.
You know what I mean? It's like, okay, wait, you can get your life together by yourself and you want to add someone else to the mix. Tell me where the logic is on that. You see what I'm saying? But that's how people think. That's like, I'm so lonely. If I only had a man, I would have a better life. You have a man, so you're still lonely because you attracted someone who is operating and seeing you from that spirit of lack and loneliness. So and here's the thing. It's okay to experience feelings of wanting to be in companionship. That is we were built, we were wired for companionship.
And for touch and for connection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The thing is when you feel that those things will complete you. You cannot depend on anyone. I really want people to get this. Like it's no one else's responsibility to make you happy. That is your sole responsibility in this life. To understand what brings you joy and do whatever it is in your power to maintain that. So that when someone else comes into your space, they're adding value, they're adding joy, they're adding love. They're not taking on a whole new job. It's a full-time job of making themselves happy and you too.
Right. And there was actually a time, or it was on Red Table Talk, and I thought it was interesting. But Will Smith, in a very loving way, he had to check Jada. And he was like, I'm not here to make you happy. Or like, that's not my job. It's to make you happy. And so just like off of that, like you just, you get clips and you're like, what? Like, that's crazy. But like you just said, that's not your partner's job. We have to come in it as healthy, happy, whole individuals.
Yes.
And I love what you said is that you take that time in the mornings and you are intentional, right? Because there's a lot of things that we want in life.
Yes.
And there's a lot of things like, oh, okay, like I want to create this, but it doesn't just happen. These things don't just magically appear because you have to be intentional and you have to make the decisions like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to spend my time. This is what I'm going to create in my days, in my weeks, in my years.
Yes.
It doesn't just fall into place. And even healthy relationships, it doesn't just fall into place. It takes intentional work.
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, when I first started to do this morning routine, it was hard. I was like, and then I said to myself, CK, you cannot give yourself an hour. In 24 hours, you can't give yourself an hour. It's so hard. I was like, that is an issue. That I cannot find an hour in a 24-hour day to give myself what I need to have this foundation of peace and clarity. So once I started talking to myself like that, I wasn't feeling good. I was like, that's not okay. Because if a girlfriend calls me and was like, I need to talk, I can give her an hour. If my boss is like, hey, I need this article done in an hour, guess what? I'm on it. So I had to just look at my life and say, you know what? I need to be intentional about making sure that I'm good because you cannot pour from an empty cup. My mother has always said that to me. She has always, and it's so funny because when I look back at my mom and how her foundation and how she set up her days, she gave to everyone, but there wasn't a time where I didn't see my mom say, you know what? I need a minute. I need to go do something for myself.
Right.
And that is what stuck out in my mind because I'm like, you know what? That's that's how you maintain. That's how you're able to be a mother to 3 kids and a wife and a this and a that. You know what I mean? So being intentional is super important, especially when dating, because that's what brings you into this conscious dating mindset is when you're dating with a purpose. If you're dating and you're saying to yourself, yeah, I'm just gonna go see what happens and I'm feeling the vibe and whatever the vibe brings, I'm cool with that. And I'm just gonna go with the flow. Right. No, because the flow can take you way off into the deep end. Right. And let's say, for instance, you met someone and the flow, the vibe is nice, the chemistry is there, the attraction is there, but this person does not see themselves getting married. And you spend the next 6 months trying to convince them that you are marriage material. What did you just do? You just wasted 6 months of your life because your job is not to convince somebody that you're worthy. And that is literally the pitfall that so many singles fall into, is that I can change this person's mind. Now, if you have a clear vision of what you want, I want someone who has integrity. And I'm talking about intangibles. We all, when we were younger, we wanted 6'2", you know what I mean?
That, y'all.
We wanted 6 degrees. We wanted, driving a Benz. We wanted so many things that were superficial. So for me, even when I put myself back into the dating game after the whole single of the year thing and I was getting myself better, I had a friend of mine, like one of my guy best friends. He's like, "What do you really want? Like, I want you to sit here and write it down." And he's like, "Not the cars and the clothes and the degrees. I want you to write down the intangible things." And I started thinking, I was like, I want a man who's honest. I want a man who has a relationship with God. I want a man who has integrity. And those are 3 things that I had never asked for in my previous dating life. And I realized, well, that's why you wasn't getting it. Because I wasn't clear on 2 things, on what I wanted and how I wanted to show up in a relationship. So I realized I wanted to show up and be free and not feel insecure and not feel like I had to put on a mask. You understand what I'm saying? So the vision was 2-sided, how I wanted to show up and what I desired. So once you have that and you're out in the flow and then you're the mix, you feeling a vibe, but you're like, wait, you just said something that wasn't in alignment with my vision. It was really nice meeting you. And you're able to make better decisions from your vision.
And quicker.
And quicker.
So you don't have to waste that time, because the thing is, we don't get that time back.
Exactly.
And so we have to be more careful with, who we give our time to. Because like I said, we don't get it back. But you said something before. It's like, we're in this go with the flow culture.
We're in this go with the flow culture, and everyone wants to go with the flow. And that's nice in certain atmospheres. But when you are serious about finding your person, not, I want a boo thing, it's cuffing season, it's getting cold, I want to date somebody for the winter time. Okay, if that's what you want to do, cool. That's fine. But if you're looking for your person, you really have to have a vision. And you really have to understand that what your vision, from your vision, it's like so powerful. Like the universe goes, yes, finally. I've been waiting for her to ask. I've been waiting for him to ask. And then the universe just literally goes off and starts putting things in place, because so crazy. So I made that list in 2012. At the end of 2012, New Year's Eve, going into the new year, I did something I've never done before. I literally left a party early, like right after countdown. I was like, oh, I don't want to be here. Went home, prayed. I said, God, this is the last New Year's Eve that I will spend by myself. I said it, I forgot it, and I was done with it, right? Wrote my list. Went to a vision board party, got super intentional, did my whole love vision board about what I wanted, and I met my husband in August of 2013. And what is so crazy about that story is how I know that the universe was working anonymously in my favor is that he was working at a hotel at the time, and on his front desk, someone gave him a copy of Ebony magazine. And as he flipped through, he was like, who's this girl that's single of the year?
No way.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And he was like, man, I wish I could meet a girl like that. Literally, that happened in December. So I'm praying he's flipping through a magazine. You understand what I'm saying? So the universe is like, boom, boom, boom. She's
right. She's
on it. So we didn't meet till a couple months later, but I was already literally becoming the best version of myself. And there was somebody literally hoping that they could meet someone like me. You understand what I'm saying? So for all those people who are out there who are thinking, I can't find my person, I don't know what to do, become your person. That is the secret sauce. Become the person of your dreams, and you will attract that person. Because I didn't have to tell my husband that I was worthy. Literally, he showed up like, you are everything. I just want people to understand that it can be that simple, where you get this vision and you start talking to the universe, you start visualizing, because that's also important. Like just understanding that you are so powerful. You can attract everything that you desire. And that's exactly what I did when I met my husband. He literally is the personification of every prayer, every dream, every wish that I had during that time. And not because he's perfect, but because he's perfect for me. And that's different, because I feel like a lot of people are looking for cookie cutter, like has everything on my list. And that's not it either.
Right.
Like we got into this relationship and I had to learn a lot about myself. I was still in that process of learning and unlearning a lot of things, but I met someone that honored me.
We are just supposed to figure out what we want. That is our prerequisite, is to figure out what we want and allow God and the universe to come support us in the how.
Yes.
And I think that's so important to have that clarity, because again, to know what it looks like and what it doesn't when it comes to you.
Absolutely.
But I also think it's really important what you said is that, when you were creating your list, it looked a little different.
Yes.
Because a lot of times we pit, okay, I want him to be 6'3" and 200 pounds with a beard and
Yeah.
401k and a 6-figure job in the BMW, right?
Yes.
So those are the things that we want, because that's what life and society has conditioned us to, right? And it's
Absolutely.
so limited, it's so narrow. And I'm not saying we shouldn't want those things. Those things are nice, but those are kind of the nothing things that
Right.
you want in a mate, and somebody that's going to be with you and stand with you and stand for you.
Yes.
And so I think it's really important for us to shift and really think about what we're asking for. So you said those intangibles.
Yes.
The character. And it doesn't have to do anything with the house he lives in and the car
Absolutely.
that he drives. But what type of man is he being?
As I changed, my requirements changed. So it's like the law of attraction. Like attracts like. So when I started to change and transform and become a better version of myself, I started to require something that looked like what I was becoming. So even in myself, I cared less about how I physically presented myself to the world, and I wanted to show up more in tune. I wanted to be more present. There was all the intangibles that I was searching for myself. So when I started to make my list, I was like, okay, yes, I care about someone who it has integrity. That's important to me. Someone who's honest. Those things started to come out, and I realized, CK, you've never asked yourself for that. You've never asked yourself for that before. So why would you have gotten that? You know what I'm saying? Obviously, there's people that, luck up and they fall in love with someone on the whim who's perfect for them, but you don't have to leave it to chance. Right. You can literally begin to make these powerful declarations to the universe, to whatever you believe in, source, and start to say, this is what I want to attract in my life, and this is what I want to become, and most importantly, how I want to show up in love, because we can't forget ourselves. Because let's face it, the most perfect person can walk in the door who's happy and whole, and if we have forgotten about ourselves, they won't be attracted to us. So you see what I'm saying? Right. We limit who we attract by not working on ourselves, by not putting ourselves first, by not understanding who we are on a very deep level, so that when that other person comes into the door and you're there, it's that immediate knowing of, we are cut from the same cloth. We are one and the same.
Right. And I am, we're in the similar space, right? Of bringing this consciousness to dating and understanding of who do you need to be to attract, right?
Yes.
The person that you want. But I know there's somebody who's like, all right, ladies, I hear you. But we know the realities of the numbers are the numbers. That it's more women than men, and we know, we see the statistics, unfortunately, and I'm like, is this scare tactics of 60% of black women, won't be married and won't have a husband, or whatever the case may be. And so, yes, I can't blame people for getting in this defeated place and thinking that there's lack, that, that these men are scarce, right?
Yeah, and you know what I say to that? So I am entrenched in love and relationships and marriage. And in my 15 years as a journalist, my main job is to interview married couples. Not one time in that 15 years have I ever gotten a call that said, we don't have anyone who's getting married today. So that means that there's love in abundance. People are falling in love and getting married every day, and people that look like us are doing the same. And those statistics are skewed. We don't know there's just so many parts of those statistics that we don't get to see what the variables are. You understand what I'm saying? So
you're a journalist, so you know how things get
I know,
misconstrued.
But what I want people to not focus on, don't focus on those numbers. Focus on the reality that there is love in abundance period. It's everywhere. All we have to do is acknowledge it and live in it, and we will attract it, period. There is no way on this earth, I believe, that God has only created so many men and so many women, and there's just going to be a sector.
Y'all just gotta fight each
Exactly.
other.
That there's going to be a sector of the world that never finds love. Like, that to me doesn't make sense. And I don't subscribe to that. And I don't think anybody else should. And I'm just so excited about the fact that even in the pandemic and the worst of times, people are still finding ways to get married. People are making it a priority. They're like, I'll get married on my stoop. I've seen that. I'll get married in a park. I'll get married in a Dunkin' Donuts. I've seen it all during this time, which shows me that love is literally conquers all. It's so powerful. And if you really, really want it, it's yours already. And I think that what I want people to hold on to, and I know it's hard out there because honestly, I've been there. We've all been in a place where we're like, when is it going to be my turn? I would focus less on when is it going to be my turn and focus more on how can I become better in this time of waiting? What is the waiting period teaching me about myself? What do I need to address during this period so that when my time does come, I am prepared for my ideal partner? There's a preparation that needs to happen within yourself to say, I can share my life with someone else. There's people who've been alone for so long that they don't even know how to invite other people into their space. They don't even have space for other people. I mean, literally, start clearing out a drawer, girl. Like, start making space in your closet. You know what I mean? Make room for what you want, because that is how things happen for you. You have to prepare and you have to be positive. You have to have the joy around it, knowing that it's already yours. It's on the way. I am worthy of love and I will receive the love that God has destined for me. And that has to be your mindset.
I love all of that. I receive all of that. And I think it's important for us to have moments of stillness. It's important for us to have a level of awareness and even reflect and even, like research our families, research our parents' marriages and our grandparents' marriages, because one thing we know is that what isn't healed within us gets passed down. And for us to have beautiful families and lasting marriages, there has to be a break in the cycles.
Absolutely. And you touched on something so important. And a lot of times we are carrying things that are not our own, but we don't know that. So we have personality traits, we have temperaments, we have things that we think communication. We have things that we think is natural to our personalities and to our being that we do not understand that it is in our lineage. It's in our DNA. And that's going even deeper into that soul work where you start to, like, I had a great conversation with my grandmother who's never been married. And I wanted to understand, I mean, like, you're beautiful. She's like a jazz singer. She has 4 beautiful kids, including my mom. And I'm like, but what happened? What happened here? And she's like, I was too focused on my career. And she was like, by the time I turned around, she was like, I was out on the scene trying to get a record deal, trying to be, a jazz musician. By the time I turned around, anyone who had ever tried to love me, I pushed them away. And I had to recognize some of those same traits in myself early on where I myself had pushed people away. And I didn't understand why I did that. And so just even in that one conversation with my grandmother, I'm like, wow.
It told you so much.
It's told me so much about the things that were passed down that I didn't even recognize. I'm like, why do I act this way? Oh, my mom does that. Or, or my grandmother does that. So you'll begin, again, that's why it's so important. As you spend time with yourself, as you start to ask yourself these questions like, why am I doing this? Why am I showing up in this way? The answers will be revealed to you that sometimes it goes even further back than your existence. So yes, you just touched on it. You cannot forget about the work that needs to be done along your ancestry line to really unpack some of the things that don't make sense. Because a lot of people, they're just functioning in these realities where they think that things are happening to them and they don't have any power. No, you have the power to break generational curses like that. You are very powerful to do that, to stop this cycle of negative dating habits where you continue to date the same kind of person over and over again because you have yet to understand what it is about this situation and what it is about yourself that keeps drawing you to that, but all of that requires the stillness, the time, the going within. You cannot skip steps.
Right.
You cannot skip steps.
And there's an order of things for a reason.
Absolutely.
And so whatever season it is, I think, it is a coming back to self so that we can show up in our relationships, in our businesses, in our careers as our best and whole selves.
I feel like that was the gift of the pandemic, that we were all forced to slow down. And my prayer is that everyone actually took this time to go within and to sit in the nothingness that's going on. Sit with the fact that you can't go anywhere and you can't really hide how you're feeling with distractions of your everyday busy life. So it's done wonders for me and even in my relationship. And I pray that people take this time to do the work that's necessary on themselves so that they can experience love, because it is a beautiful thing. It's wonderful to meet your person and be in a relationship that you finally feel that you found someone that understands you, that honors you, respects you, and is able to help you become your best self.
I love that. And the love is available
to
us all. And I think the best thing, like I said, the lesson for me was you be the love that you want to have, that you want to receive. And so my in the pocket love expert, I'm so glad I have you.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been fun.
Amazing. And again, I know this is something all women, men as well, are trying to navigate this space, and there's so many questions and so much uncertainty. And so I think this is the best, the best way we can show up for ourselves, that we can show up for love and receive it with open arms. So thank you so much, CK.
Thank you for having me. This
amazing.
was fun and wonderful, and I'm so happy to just be a resource for people that are looking to start their self-care, self-love journeys and routines. And I just want people to know that it doesn't have to come instantly. Take the time, take this journey with yourself seriously, and know that in the end, if nothing else happened, you will be a better person. And that's the best gift of all,
Right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you enjoyed this conversation. Make sure you're following along with the Journey with Blue. I don't want you to miss out, so like and subscribe below to get more transformational conversations. Follow me on Instagram at @themichelleblue, and head over to thejourneywithblue.com, where I'm giving you my free Taking the Leap ebook when you sign up for my Blues Clues email newsletter. I look forward to supporting you in creating the life and business of your dreams. You're never alone in the journey. Until next time, Blue.